And welcome to the Week 2 assignment video. This video is going to discuss how we are to complete the assignment for Week 2, and we'll go over everything you need to know for that purpose. Although we will not be doing the exact same assignment for you on this video, we will be doing one similar to it so that you know how to complete the complaint form that we are using and do so for the scenario that you have been given for that purpose. So week 2, if you look at week 2, let's look at first the graded activities in week 2, and you'll see that there is a scenario of events that you are given in order to complete a negligence complaint. Now, we looked at a complaint as being that document that we file as a plaintiff when we think someone has wronged us and we want to go into court and get a remedy from the court. So we have to let the other side know through factual pleading, which means we have to plead facts about what actually happened or what we think actually happened. That will constitute at least one cause of action, that is a legal right to sue, in the complaint, so that when we file it, we will be sort of bulletproof. They can't come in and say, oh, by the way, you didn't prove, you didn't plead a case because you either didn't give us enough facts or you didn't give us all the elements of the offense in your facts, so that our case gets dismissed as a result. So when we make up our complaint, we've got to make sure that we have sufficient facts that are actually pled in the complaint that, if believed to be true, would constitute at least one cause of action. Now, this is a negligence complaint, so obviously the cause of action is going to be for negligence, and it's going to be in the context of an auto accident, which is one of your more common negligence type situations. All right, so it tells you to go to the materials for week 2 and then look at the Judicial Council form for the negligence complaint. It is of the motor vehicle type. And then you're going to put in the address for the Ventura County Superior Court, the one that is located in the city of Ventura, by the way. And so that means you're going to have to go look up that address. You need both the mailing address and you need the actual physical address of that courthouse to be put in there. We'll go through exactly where that goes into the Judicial Council form, but I'm going to have you go out and actually look that up, and you can do that on the website for the Ventura County Superior Court. Now remember, to get the mailing address, it will be different than the physical address, so be aware of that. So what's very important about this particular assignment is you want to be sure to fill in all the applicable boxes in the form as appropriate on both forms, as you're going to be graded on how well you figure out the appropriate information to place in each box, and that you place it in the correct box. All right, so again, we're going to go through a similar situation so that we will fill in one of these for you to show you how it's done and show you where information goes, and then you can take it and use it for this particular scenario. So we're going to use the following fact situation for your negligence complaint. And in this case, you have students John Jones and Jeff Smith who attend Oxnard College. And they have many classes together. On March 3rd, 2014, John was driving southbound on Rose Avenue to school in the morning and stopped at a red light at the intersection of 3rd Street and Rose Avenue, when Jeff Smith, also on his way to school, was texting on his cell phone and also proceeding southbound on Rose Avenue just behind John. When John stopped for the red light at the intersection, Jeff, not paying attention to his driving, struck into the rear end of John's car, totaling the car and causing John to immediately feel pains to his neck and upper back. At the scene of the accident, John and Jeff were interviewed by the police officer who responded to the accident. Jeff admitted to being distracted in his driving and that this is what caused him to collide in the rear end of John's car. John has been to several doctors and received medical treatments and drugs for his injured neck and back. His medical expenses so far have exceeded $18,456, and the prognosis is for additional medical treatments in the future. John's car had a fair market value of $16,500. John was also working full-time at the time of the accident and earned $2,400 per month. John has lost 30 days from work so far, but appears stable enough that he should not lose additional time from work for the accidents. Now, John wants to sue Jeff for losses for negligence. The complaint is to be filed by your supervising attorney, who is me. Here's my state bar number here, which is 105-993. The address that you're to give for me is 4000 South Rose Avenue, Oxnard, California, 93033. the telephone number here in the scenario. And then the physical address of the Ventura Superior Court happens to be 800 South Victoria Avenue, Ventura, California 93009. That is not, however, the mailing address. So you're going to have to go find out what the mailing address is. All right, so this is your scenario. This is the one that you're going to use for your purposes. And now let's go back into our module for week 2 and look at what we have in terms of available documents. There's 2 different documents. One is the personal injury complaint, and the other is the cause of action motor vehicle. These are all going to be put together as a single complaint. The personal injury complaint is a general complaint that gives the general information about the case. And then you can append to it any number of different kinds of causes of action depending upon how you receive personal injury. If it's a slip and fall case, you would have a different cause of action form because the cause of action for motor vehicle is set up for what would be a typical motor vehicle accident. These are form complaints that are set up to make it easy for you to file a complaint that will meet all the requirements of the law and so on. So when we click on the personal injury complaint, it'll come up and ask us whether we want to download it, and we do, but it'll also come up in the viewer. Don't worry about coming up in the viewer because it won't give you any, in essence, it doesn't help you any that it's in the viewer because you can't use it in the viewer. So you're going to have to download it. And when it downloads here, I'll open it up here in a second. And let's go back into modules again to see our documents. Okay, and now I'm going to have to make this a little smaller for our purposes to get it into the screen. Let's see if I can bring it over here. It takes a little while for these things to download. Okay, now this is the complaint, and I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger so you can actually see it. This is the actual form. Now, this is just the first, this is more or less like a face page where it brings in just general information about the case, and then it says what kind of documents are appended to it as part of the complaint. But let's start out with first, who is the attorney? Now, they said before, it's me, so you're going to put my name down there, and then you're going to put my state bar number, SBN, and it's 105993. You always put the state bar number of the attorney, who is the one who's filing the document, at the top of the document, and you're going to always use the state bar number. It's required by law now. If you don't put that in there, they will not file it. So you put in the name of the attorney, state bar number, the address, and let's see, it's Oxnard 93033. Now you also put in the telephone number, and you don't have to put in this optional fax number or email address because that's not necessary. But then you have to put the attorney for who. It's going to be for the plaintiff. And you'll see that every time on a complaint because when you're filing a complaint, it will be for the plaintiff. Most likely, if it's for the defendant, it'll be a cross complaint. In any event, this is something that's going to happen on each of your documents from now on. Every one of them is going to be filed by an attorney, depending upon the scenario, and it won't always be me. And you're going to have to put in the name of that attorney up here along with the state bar number, address, telephone number, and who they are representing in the action. And so you will get this as the proper way to put in the attorney's information. So I'm not going to go through this again when we go into other documents because I'm going to assume you already know how to do this just based on what I've done right here. And then on the Ventura County Superior Court of County of San Ventura, and then you put in the street address here, which frankly I can't remember, but let's see what it is. We can't. I have to go back and look again, but whatever I think it's 800 South Victoria. Is that right? I think it was 800 South Victoria Avenue, and it's in Ventura. I can't remember the zip. I'm going to make you go out and find the mailing address, and I'm also going to have you determine what the branch name is. Now, what happens is very often in many of the larger counties, the court system will have several branches. Uh, Los Angeles County has probably the largest number, and it has a tremendous number of branches. But Ventura County has at least 2, probably 3 branches. The one that's the main branch is the one that's in the city of Ventura. It's on Victoria Avenue and Ventura. But it has a specific name. So I'm going to make you go and research what that name is to put in the branch name here. Now again, if you don't put in the mailing address, you don't put in the branch name, you're going to lose points because that's something that you're required to do and find that information out so that you can complete the form. Interestingly, you probably won't get your form filed if you don't have that information in there. And so don't think this is something you just, well, I'll just shine it on because I don't have it. That's not going to work. Your supervising attorney is not going to appreciate it when you can't file the document, and you're not going to look very good that you don't get your document filed. All right, who's the plaintiff? I think it's John Smith. The defendant is Jeffrey Jones. We don't need to put any does in here unless you want to. Normally speaking, we would put in some does, 1 to 10, let's say. We're probably not going to have more than 10 people in an auto accident who would be liable to us that we don't know about. But you don't have to do that. I'm not going to make you do that on this one. Then it asks you what kind of complaint is it. First, it's not an amended complaint, meaning if it was an amended complaint, we would have already had a complaint on file, and we're going to amend it. And so here you put in the number from that complaint here. This is not an amended complaint. This is a first complaint. So it's the type. It's a motor vehicle. It's going to ask for, let's see, property damage, personal injury. It's not wrongful death because nobody died. We could, if we were asking for punitive damages, we might put that over here, but we're not. It's an ordinary accident. Over here is the case number. You will not put in the case number. That will be put in by the clerk. When you first file a document and you open up a new case, it's up for the clerk to actually stamp in the case number. You will not put that there. Now, this is considered an unlimited civil case. That means that it's very possible this case could go beyond $25,000. And if it does, then you want to file it as an unlimited. Unless you're very sure that it's much less than 25, you will always post it as an unlimited civil case. We'll pay a higher fee for that, but we don't want to be precluded from asking for more than $25,000 if the damages are that much more. And of course, we already know they're already higher than $25,000. So there's no reason to have this limited in any way. And that's it. For those boxes, that's it. We've sort of put in the caption already. Then it says the plaintiff, and you put in the plaintiff's name, which is John Smith, alleges cause of action against the defendant, Jeffrey Jones, and does 1 to 10 if you put does in there. Now this one, the pleading, including attachments and exhibits, consists of the following number of pages. You're going to leave that blank until you've got them all done. Once you've got them all done, then you're going to see how many pages you've attached to this one form. Okay? And then once you've done that, you'll put in the number of pages, which might be, I don't know, 1. We may only have 1 cause of action page. Probably that's what's going to happen. Sometimes, though, when we have attachments to pages, this number will go higher than that. We'll see. All right, each plaintiff name above is a competent adult except, well, they're all competent adults, so we don't have to put anything in there. Same as except for plaintiff, except for plaintiff. In essence, if you had plaintiffs here who might have been minors or might have been corporations, then we have to put that in so that we can classify them as what kind of plaintiff they are. This information about additional plaintiffs who are not competent adults is shown in attachment 3. If you had additional plaintiffs who were not competent adults, you click on this, and then you would attach a Word document to this as a basically an attachment where you write out more people's names and what they are. All right, and if you want to put down the short title, it's Smith versus Jones. Don't put in the case number again. It'll come in from the clerk. Then if the plaintiff is doing business under a fictitious name, which is, we typically see something like, a company doing business, is Joe's shoe shop. If that were the case, we would have to put in that they are doing business under that fictitious name, and that they comply with the fictitious business name statement laws. If they haven't, then they're not allowed to sue. But we don't have any of that here, so you're not going to see this going into any of our scenarios for negligence in this situation. The next is each defendant named above is a natural person. All of the people that we involved in this case are natural persons. In fact, so far as we know, there's only one, and that person is a natural person. So you don't have to fill in any of these exceptions because there aren't anything that are accepted. Again, if you had more than the 4 that are listed there, you could click on this and add some additional ones if you wanted to. Now it says the true names of defendants sued as Doe are unknown to plaintiff. And then they ask whether you want to, if you're going to put Doe defendants, you're going to put down Does, and then 1 through 10, or let's say 1 through 5, were agents or employees of the defendant, and then Does 6 through 10 are persons whose capacity are unknown to plaintiff, which is, so you basically are just splitting them off into 2 categories. Because what can happen here is it's possible that someone was the agent for the person that we are trying to hold liable for, and that might make it so we can get them into, we can get the principal or the employer involved in having to pay for the bill for whatever it is. So we might be able to say, for instance, that Jeffrey Jones was acting as the agent or employee for someone while they slammed into the back of our car, and then the employer will have to pay. But we don't know that right now, so we can only sue them as Does because we don't know that they're there, or that you know what kind of position they may be in. But it also could be that we just don't know what capacities they have, and so we just split them into 2. And that's how you do Doe defendants. The next is defendants who are joined under Civil Code Section 302 are, well, there aren't any joined, so you don't have to worry about that. Then the next is a venue allegation. The court is a proper court because at least one defendant now resides in the jurisdictional area. That means we'd have to know that Jeffrey Jones actually resides within the county of Ventura, which we don't actually know. We don't know that that's true, but we do know that the injury to the person or damage to property occurred in our jurisdictional area. That means in Ventura County. We know that. So that's good enough for getting the venue in Ventura County Superior Court. Now, next one is plaintiff is required to comply with a claim statute. That's only required if you're suing the government or a government agency. We are not suing a government agency at this point, so we're not going to click on that. That's if you were to click on that in the complaint, I would take off points for extraneous allegations that are not true. Okay, so don't put those in there. Okay, now let's see. I think I may need to move this a little bit so it's easier to read. Okay, the following causes of action are attached, and statements above apply to each. Motor vehicle, that's it. We're not going to have a general negligence complaint, intentional tort, products liability, or premises liability. None of those are here. We're just going to use a standard motor vehicle type of situation. And then plaintiff has suffered losses. We know he has wage loss, loss of use of property, he lost his car, so he may have to go out and rent a car for a period of time. He has hospital medical expenses, general damages, which general damages in a negligence case is simply pain and suffering. Property damage, we know that because he lost his car. Loss of earning capacity, we might throw that in there just because it's possible that he may have a hurt neck, so he can't, for instance, do construction work and that sort of thing. We don't know it yet, but it's possible, so we're going to put it down as something he possibly suffered. All right, damages claimed for wrongful death and relationships of plaintiff are ceased are, and we're not claiming for wrongful death, so we're not going to put that in there. The relief sought in this complaint is within the jurisdiction of this court. That is true. That means that the jurisdiction of this court is unlimited once it's an unlimited civil case. Now, the next is what do you pray for? What do you want, essentially? Plaintiff prays for judgment for cost of suit, such other relief as fair, just, equitable, and for compensatory damages. And then we're going to put down in according to proof. We're not going to give down a specific number. And the reason for that is that only in contract actions could we get to a specific number. Because we don't know what our damages are. We won't know them for a very long period of time. Next is the paragraphs in this complaint alleged on information and belief are as follows. If you happen to have alleged something on what's called information and belief rather than on facts, and in essence you just believe that it's true, but you don't have any evidence necessarily that's going to prove it, but you sort of have more than an inkling that it's true, then you put down which of the paragraphs you allege that. And so far, there's none, so you're not going to be filling that in. Next, you're going to type in the name of the attorney, and you probably want to put that in all caps. And that's it for this form. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna save the form. And let me show you how you do that, because that's down at the bottom here. You want to save the form, and then it'll ask you where do you want to save it. Let's just put it on the desktop, way up the top here, desktop. So it'll be personal injury complaint number 1, and it'll go up to your desktop. It'll be a PDF, and if you go up to your desktop and click on it, the PDF will come back as completed in that form. And I'm hoping that I can get it to open forms. And it takes a little bit of time, especially if there's another one already open. So let's put that aside. That's the one we've just been working on, and let's see if we can't open the one that, oh, I see what's going on. Is it saved it, but it's still open. So that is the same document essentially. Okay. So we have opened that document. All right. So now we've got this one. We'll put it aside for right now. And then we're going to go to the cause of action, where in the cause of action section of this complaint, that's where we're going to put in the actual facts that happened that give the right to the plaintiff to ask for relief from the court for things that happen. And before we do that, instead of using the scenario that you have in your rated assignment, we're going to use a practice scenario. And let's look at the practice scenario. In that you just pick this up, you ask that it be downloaded, because it's just a Word document with a short scenario in it. You can look at it in the viewer if you want to, but it's best to download it so you have it separate from your other documents, because you got to go back in and open other documents while you've got that scenario open. So you want the scenario open in another window available for you to use when you need to. Okay, so let's look at that scenario right now. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger for you to be able to see. And we're going to make it like maybe 150% or 125. That might be bigger. Okay. All right. So in this case, John Smith was driving northbound in the slow lane of Highway 101 in Oxnard at noon on his way to Oxnard College for classes at noon. It was a bright sunny day with unlimited visibility. As John proceeded, he saw Jeff Jones' vehicle on the on-ramp to Highway 101 on what John judged was a collision course with his vehicle. This often happens, as you know, when you're merging onto a highway. Sometimes people will just kind of sit there driving at a specific speed, and they'll wait for you, the person who's on the highway, to either speed up or slow down. But there's actually an obligation to merge on the part of both people, one that's both driving on the highway and the one that's merging into the highway. But John sped up to avoid the collision, but Jeff also decided to speed up to avoid the collision, with the result that both cars collided and caused a serious auto accident in which both parties were gravely injured and both cars totaled. John is the client of the firm and wants to sue Jeff for negligence. California Vehicle Code Section 21804 applies to set the standard of duty for vehicles entering the highway. So I want you to actually look up Vehicle Code Section 21804. And you'll see what that is that it is the obligation of someone who's coming onto a highway to merge with the oncoming traffic. And that means they have to speed up or slow down as necessary to get in between cars as the cars are driving on the highway. So as you're coming up to an on-ramp and you're coming onto a highway, it's your obligation to speed up or slow down. And it's your obligation to merge with the oncoming traffic. It's not necessarily the obligation of the person who's already on the highway. However, there's also other doctrines of negligence law that say that if you have the opportunity to avoid a collision and you don't, then you're liable for the collision. But let's not worry about that for right now. We're just going to use this as a basis for why we are going after Jeffrey Jones. All right, John suffered present and future medical expenses well over $50,000 currently, lost wages of at least $30,000 as of now, and likely to increase over time, permanent injuries, pain and suffering, and the loss of his car that had a fair market value of $15,400. Now create a form complaint for vehicular negligence for John Smith. So that's the scenario we're going to use in putting together this complaint. So it's a similar auto accident case, And so you'll have a similar type of way in which you're going to put the allegations into the complaint. So you should know when we do this that you're going to see where to put information for your scenario as well as for this one. So what I did is I opened up the cause of action form, which is another PDF. It goes along with the PDF that we use for the general complaint, which is sort of a more or less a face page. It gives all the names of the parties, what the prayer for relief is, what sort of complaint it is, but doesn't give you the specific allegations of what went wrong. So let's get into what went wrong, and I'm going to bring on the cause of action sheet, which is right here, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. All right, now you're going to put in the short title, which is Smith versus Jones, same as it was for the other one. Yep, sorry. Don't worry about the case number again because we don't have a case number yet. This is going to be your first cause of action. You could have many. It's possible for any given case, even from a single incident, for there to be 10 or 12 different causes of action, separate causes of action. And we would file each of them separately as a listed number of causes of action. It would be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. Now we only need one here because we have a simple auto accident. We're just going to sue for negligence. We're not suing for, let's say, reckless conduct. We're only for negligent conduct. And we consider this to be an attachment to our complaint. It could also be an attachment to a cross complaint because it's possible that, let's say, that Jeffrey Jones might sue us for not merging with him. And so if that were the case, and this was a defense complaint or a complaint filed by the defendant against the plaintiff, which is called a cross complaint, we would simply click the cross complaint. But now this is still our complaint by the plaintiff against the defendant, so it's our complaint. It's attached to our complaint. Now the plaintiff's name is John Smith. All right, on the date. Well, whenever you don't have a date here, just make it up. I don't care what it is. Let's make that 1/3/2017. Okay, now where did this happen? This was at Highway 101 in Oxnard, California. And then what you do is you state what happened. Plaintiff was proceeding let's see, northbound. And defendant began to merge with Highway 101 in front, or next to plaintiff's vehicle. And then it's defendant's vehicle failed to merge with plaintiff's vehicle in violation of Vehicle Code 21804, causing a collision between the two vehicles and damages to plaintiff. Now, damage is just a generic term of any kind of losses that were suffered. It asks you what kind of defendants were here. First kind of defendants, which one was operating the motor vehicle? Well, that was Jeffrey Jones. We know that for a fact. He was operating the vehicle. You can see that from police reports and so on. But we might also want to add in that some people, employed Jeffrey Jones at the time. In essence, Jeffrey Jones may have been on an employment run doing something for his employer at the time this accident happened. We want to get the employer. So we don't know that yet, but we want to put that down. So we want to put down does 1 through 5, let's say. Next is defendants who own the motor vehicle that was operated with their permission are, in essence, if you own a vehicle and it is involved in an accident, you have to pay the minimum amount of insurance, even if you didn't do anything wrong. It just has to go with your vehicle. We don't know that Jeffrey Jones was the owner of the vehicle or not at this point, so we're going to put down does 1 through 5 as the ones who might be the owner of the vehicle that might be different than Jeffrey Jones. And if they are, they owe us something as part of the recovery here. The defendants who entrusted the motor vehicle are, now what happens is if you entrust your vehicle to someone and you do so negligently, that means if you give it to someone who's a reckless driver and you know it, or you have reason to believe that they're reckless and you give it them the right to use your vehicle anyway, then you might be guilty of negligent entrustment, and therefore you would be liable to us as well. So we'll put down does 1 through 5, let's say, and then the defendants who were agents and employees of the other defendants and acted within the scope of the agency are, this is just a generic one, just in case we have some additional people who might be working together in whatever they were doing. We want to put those people in. Now, the defendants who are liable to plaintiffs for reasons other than the reasons of liability are, now that's something in case there was other reasons for liability. In essence, if we had any other reason we suspected, we could put that down. We don't have any other reason that we suspected at this point, and so we're not going to put that down. What you want to do is also put the page number down here as to what page this is. This should be page 3. And that's it. See how easy that was? It was not very difficult. It's just putting down what happened in a very general sense. But you see here, it shows there was driving going on. The defendant was negligent because they failed to merge in violation of this statute. They caused a collision and it caused damage to the plaintiff. We're not even saying how much damage. We don't have to at this point. And then we allege what kind of defendants there might be that we might be able to add into the cause of action later as DOE defendants. And then you're good. That's it. That is the end of the story. You will now save this file, and you want to save it as of course, a PDF. So you want to let's save it on our desktop, let's say, like we did before. Let's see what we can do here on that. On the desktop, and it'll be cause of action motor vehicle. Comes up to that. It's now on my desktop. No problem. We're there. So then what you do is you take these 2 saved documents and then you upload them to the assignment tab. So go to assignments, and it'll come up here in a second. And the assignment tab, by the way, only listed as a negligent complaint rather than a by the week. So you look up negligence complaint, and then you simply add it in, and this doesn't show your position. So it says it allows you to upload any file as your attachment. So you simply attach it to the assignment tab. You're going to attach 2 files. One will be your complaint form, and the other is the cause of action form. They both will be PDF. And it says here, by the way, here's all the assignment once again. If you can see it actually listed here in case you didn't have it. And then what I want you to do is after you have attached each of those and made sure that they are there, then go back and open them up just to make sure that all the information is there. Sometimes, for reasons I'm not quite sure exactly why, on some computers, it will just strip off all the information you had in your PDF and won't save it. It's saved on the document, but when you send it and upload it, for some reason, it just strips off all the information. I don't know why. So to make sure that doesn't happen, just make sure that what you open up after you've attached it is, in fact, the same document that has all the writing in it. And then you're good. Then everything is good. All right? So that's the end of assignment for week 2. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call.